right, welcome to Module 1, Why Science? A case for studying psychology. So if I asked you, what is psychology? How would you answer? Psychology is simply the scientific study of human behavior. Think about what behaviors you are most interested in learning about. So, what is science? Very simply, scientific method is systematic observation of a phenomenon in order to acquire knowledge. Systematic observation includes observation, measurement, recording. Early astronomers simply observed changes in heavenly bodies. Scientist Carl von Frisch observed the behavior of bees. Discovered that bees do a waggle dance, and that's how they communicate with other bees. So science simply is curiosity and the desire to find out why. What is science? Observation, careful examination of the real world, theory, conclusions drawn from closely related phenomena or multiple observations. So we observe the same thing several times. We can create a theory. So we observe that when our younger sibling has lots and lots of candy, they become very, very hyper. So our theory might be that the more sugar makes kids hyper. Our hypothesis is a logical idea that can be tested. So we would say the more candy children have, the more hyper they become. We operationally define all of our variables so that someone else can come in 5 years from now and replicate our research design. So think about how you would try to learn about flirting behaviors. You would have to, so you've observed this brand new phenomenon across the world. You would have to observe flirting, define what it is, how you would describe it. You would have a theory. Maybe you notice that lots of old men flirt with young ladies, and so your hypothesis would be that more older men flirt with younger men. No, more older men flirt with younger women than younger men. Then you would need to measure through observation, through survey, self-report, peer report. And then you would reject or accept your hypothesis after testing. So what happens when someone else comes up with different research? We debate, we retest, we form conclusions on what is the best method or theory. So science is constantly evolving. Science is an iterative process based on observation and testing. The core concept has changed a little over the last few hundred years, but the measurement tools we employ and the statistical analyses we use have become increasingly more sophisticated. All right, we are going to skip down to psychological science, a branch of science dealing with the mental processes and behavior of individuals and groups. This is a picture of Sigmund Freud. He was, like many later psychologists, fascinated with the way the mind works. To some extent, all of us are amateur psychologists in our daily lives. We ascribe motivation to others. They did that because we infer how they are thinking or feeling based on their behavior. We may or may not be correct. We notice individual differences in preferences, ways of speaking, etc. What are some human thoughts, feelings, or behaviors psychologists might study? Feelings I feel angry, I feel happy, I feel sad. My thoughts are an extension of my feelings. So I feel angry because. So maybe I feel angry because they took my parking space, and then I start to ascribe these reasons. They took my parking space because either they're a jerk or they wanted to ruin my day, and maybe not realizing that they took my parking space simply because they didn't see me waiting there, right? So, psychologists study happiness, depression, intelligence, anger, motivation, personality, emotion, aggression, identity. We study these through self-report surveys, questionnaires, peer reports, and biological measures. Psychologists would study conformity. We will discuss this study later. But basically, Solomon Asch was a researcher who wanted to see how often people would conform to the very obviously incorrect answer. So in that first box, in the second box, C is the line that is the same as in the first box. He wanted to see how often people would say, no, A is the same just because others did. Confederates, or those who were in on the study, uniformly gave incorrect answers on 12 out of the 16 trials. So on 4 of them, they gave correct answers, kind of built some trust. The remaining 12, they gave incorrect answers. 76% of participants went along with the incorrect answer at least once, also giving the incorrect answer. In total, they conformed with the group on 1/3 of the 12 test trials. So basically, conformity is one thing a psychologist would study. They would be interested, why would people give an obviously wrong answer? Psychological science, applied science, is the application of scientific knowledge to practical problems or solutions. We would be interested in knowing things like which therapies are most effective, which therapies are harmful, how to better motivate people, how to increase productivity, how to identify and confront prejudices within ourselves, even practical things like how to make courtroom decisions more valid. Jobs in psychology, some you may not even think of, a sports psychologist. So how do we motivate the people out on the field? Marketing and advertising, how do we make people buy what we want them to buy? Organizational development and human resources, how do we make this company more productive and also have happy employees? Psychotherapist, a researcher, a criminal investigator, or a college instructor. Why learn about psychology? To understand ourselves, to better understand other peoples and groups, to be better able to influence others, for example, in socializing children or motivating employees. So if you're in education or business, to learn how to better help others and improve the world, for example, by doing effective psychotherapy. To learn a skill that will lead to a profession, such as being a social worker or professor, to learn how to evaluate research claims, and because it is interesting, challenging, and fun. We are going to have fun over this next semester together.